Good morning, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. I'm Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms. Our invocation this morning is by Rich Warfield.
Thank you, Ron. I know, here we go, Rich Warfield again. For those people that don't know me, I was subbing for Ron last week. And so let us bow our heads. From what I understand, one of our Rotarians went in the hospital yesterday, but we hope that all is well with him. God, thank you for this time with these men and women. And Lord, we pray for Phil Tobin as he went in for some tests yesterday at the hospital, that all is well and that your hand of protection will be over him for whatever it is. And we pray for this Friday. I know we're very fortunate to have a lot in our lives, but we pray for a great gala event put on by Marilyn and others. And that's really beneficial to this club. And we thank you for this food that we have had or going to have this morning. And thank you for this time together with all these men and women. Amen.
Thank you, Rich. And now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will build goodwill and better friendships. And fourth, will be beneficial to all concerned. And now to lead us in song, Chris Barker.
Good morning, Rotarians and guests. If you all join me in singing this morning, we are going to sing God Bless America. Ready? God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home. Thank you. There we go.
Thank you, Chris. Now our president, Father Joe Boisel.
Good morning, Rotarians and guests. Good morning. There we go. Yeah. A couple of announcements this morning. First of all, I want to say that we are supporting this month the Hopewell Therapeutic Farm, which is a facility for bipolar and mental health needs. And so if you could support them, things that they're looking for, some board games, a drawing easel, and a spike board set. If you know what that is, you know what that is. My kids used to have the spike ball game, and I don't think it's the same thing, but is it the same thing? A spike ball? Oh, okay. So these are some things that they're looking for. If you can help out with that, they probably take cash. Yeah, old fashioned like that. Okay, so yeah, if you can help out with that. The other thing is really the auction or the gala rather. The auction is live. The gala is coming up. So already I got a text message that the auction is live. Am I right about that, Marilyn? Okay. Live at 3 o'clock. All right. So here you go. Time to get out and bid and win some stuff. If you are involved with the gala committee, would you please stand for a moment? Let's give this group a round of applause. They have done yeoman's work in that area, and we're thrilled. Friday night is our night. Ready to come and party and have a great time. So hopefully you're ready for that. I am going to send around a sign-up sheet. There are some areas of need that we have that need to be filled. If you can, I'm going to send around a pen. It came all the way from Kigali, Rwanda. So give me my pen back. It traveled that far. Let it make its way back to me. But Ron, can I give this to you? And now if there's nothing else, I'm bringing Jim up to introduce our guest. Oh, we do. Yes. Kelly, before that. That's one of us.
Many years I've been looking for a place to call home, but I failed here to find it, so I must travel alone. I don't care for fine mansions on earth's sinking sands. Lord, build me a cabin in the corner of glory land. Lord, build me a cabin in the corner of glory land, in the shade of the tree of life that it may ever stand, where I can just hear the angels sing and shake Jesus' hand. Lord, build me a cabin in the corner of glory land. Blessed Lord, I'm not asking to live in the mess, for I know I'm not worthy of such splendor as this. But I'm asking for mercy while humbly I stand. Lord, build me a cabin in the corner of glory land. Lord, build me a cabin in the corner of glory land, in the shade of the tree of life that it may ever stand, where I can just hear the angels sing and shake Jesus' hand. Lord, build me a cabin in the corner of glory land. I have many loved ones who've gone on this way. On the great final morning shall I hear them say, come and join in the singing and playing our band. Lord, build me a cabin in the corner of glory land. Lord, build me a cabin in the corner of glory land, in the shade of the tree of life that it may ever stand, where I can just hear the angels sing and shake Jesus' hand. The Lord build me a cabin in the corner of glory land.
That's all right now, boy. Yes, sir, that's all right.
Do you have to say anything, Kelly? Or is that say it all? That's enough? That just shows you the progress. So the dedication is in August, Kelly? Terrific progress on that. Well, summer fun is here in May, and we are very fortunate to have our next speaker, Jane Hargraff, join us this morning. She joined the Cleveland Orchestra as Chief Development Officer in April 2019. The orchestra has, believe it or not, an annual budget of around $60 million. And philanthropy through annual donations and endowment draw account for about 60% of that. She works with volunteers and staff of a 27 running major comprehensive campaign for a goal to raise 500 million for the orchestra by 2027. The Cleveland Orchestra announced its largest gift ever in 2021, $50 million from the Jack, Joseph, and Morton Mandel Foundation. Nice bump. Jane was the VP of Development at Seattle Symphony from 2011 to 2019. She started her fundraising career in 1997, and led or held progressively responsible positions at Roy Thompson, Masonry Hall, Canadian Opera Company, and the Opera Atelier, all in Toronto. Is it Atelier? Atelier. I took French, but not enough. Jane was a Rotary exchange student in 1980 and spent her exchange year in Shepparton, Victoria, Australia, and was sponsored by the Rotary Club of Shepparton South. Jane was a member of the Seattle 4 Rotary Club for several years. A graduate of Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, Jane started her career as a writer and editor with the Ontario government before becoming a fundraiser. An avid marathoner and triathlete, Jane has run more than 25 marathons, including the Cleveland, Columbus, and Boston ones. 3 half Ironman races, 1 full Ironman triathlon. Jane is the incoming treasurer of the Garden Club of Cleveland and is a mentor with College Now, an organization that supports first-generation minority college students. Jane's married to Ellie Weiner, who is a retired violinist. Jane and Ellie have 2 daughters. Rachel is 30, Eleanor is 20, and let's give her a warm welcome to our speaker this morning from the Cleveland Orchestra, Jane Harcraft. See how? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
You
okay,
did this one.
awesome. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you, Jane.
And thank you, everybody, for coming out so early. Is this better? That's better. Great. Fantastic. I'm sorry I have my computer here. Of course, my printer ran out of ink last night as I was printing off my notes, but we'll see if I can see these and okay, that's great. That's fantastic. So as Jim mentioned, I'm the Chief Development Officer at the Cleveland Orchestra, which is a weasel word for fundraising. It's so wonderful to be here in Northeast Ohio, and I'm so glad to be your guest today. When I announced to my friends in Seattle that we were moving to Cleveland, the first question they asked is like, well, why are you moving to Cleveland? You live here in Seattle. And I said, well, that's because that's where the Cleveland Orchestra is, folks. And I've often described moving here. We live in Shaker Heights as the Cleveland dividend. I mean, not only do I get to, attend fantastic concerts basically every week at Severance or at Blossom. I know now what is a very affordable place to live with many, many amenities and just really, really, really nice people. And in fact, a story I like to tell is, we shortly after we moved into our home in Shaker, which had been neglected, the property, particularly the landscaping, had been neglected for many years. As a gardener, that was great. That was a selling point for me. One of our trees had actually fallen and crushed our neighbor's chain link fence, which we had not noticed because there were about 200 trees on the property. So our neighbor to the south, our neighbor to the east pointed this out. Shortly thereafter, the neighbor to the south had a tree service in, removed it, repaired the fence. And we were like, well, wait a second, this is our issue. We went over to sort of say, well, we'll pay for that. And they said, no, that's okay. And then the next day, a giant bouquet arrived on our doorstep with a note sort of welcoming us to the neighborhood. And so people are so nice here. You can destroy their property and they'll still give you flowers. I mean, we just sort of thought, Wow, this is fantastic. We're so glad to be here. I'm also glad to be here with my colleagues, Katie Shames and Mark Litzler. And, happy, of course, at the end of this to take some questions and mingle with you. And I'm so glad to be here telling you about the Blossom Festival season. Can I get the next slide, please? So there we go. Okay, so Blossom has been a family tradition in Northeast Ohio since 1968. As many of you know, it's an outdoor amphitheater located in Cuyahoga Falls and was built in 1968 by the Musical Arts Association, which is the legal name of the Cleveland Orchestra. And the center was made possible through the generosity of the late industrialist and philanthropist Dudley Blossom. A lot of people think, oh, it's Blossom because it's beautiful. No, it's Blossom because it was the family who donated the land. The 800 acres to us was Dudley Blossom. And in fact, the Blossom family is still involved with the Cleveland Orchestra. We have a Blossom member on the board, and their philanthropic foundation is still a supporter of ours. The music center was designed by Peter Van Dyke and features distinctive sloping roof, which you can see here, and covers pavilion seating area. The pavilion seating area has a capacity of about 5,700 seats. So, and then you can, on the lawn, we can fit between 10 and 13,000 people. So for a capacity of over 19,000. Blossom, of course, is renowned for its natural beauty, superb acoustics, and the stunning vistas around the countryside. Since it's open, we present a festival season ourselves every year, and then we're also in partnership with Live Nation, which is a pop promoter. So we share responsibility for running it and for the privilege of presenting concerts and running day to day for us there. They pay us a fee and a taste off the top of everything that they produce, which is fantastic. It's a great arrangement for both of us. So before I launch into what's happening this season at Blossom, I really would love to run this video. Next slide, please.
How do we measure time? In opportunities lost, seats left empty, notes unplayed, unheard. We've learned that what we love and what we need is sometimes clearer in absence. Even now, the sun warms the grass. The birds beckon, and anticipation fills the air. It's time to remember. It's time to recover a little of what we've lost. It's time to gather together once more under the stars. Time to blossom.
So I get teary every time I see that. So this was a video that we produced as we came back from the pandemic, and we were not able to do, we did concerts at Severance that were filmed, but we couldn't have any people there. And so we went back to Blossom in the summer of 21, and people felt really safe being outside, and it was tremendous. And I just I just get so teary because it was really, really emotional for everyone to go back, and it was terrific. And I have to tell you, the year off, the grass loved it. It recovered and was actually quite good for the maintenance of the grounds. So hands up, who's been to Blossom? Everybody, 100%. Excellent, very good. Then I don't have to explain anything more about it except that it is just a treasure and a jewel in this community. So we start off the season on July 1st with Beethoven's Ninth, which features the Ode to Joy. We had to cancel this last year again, another sort of hangover from the pandemic, because our chorus had a run of COVID through the chorus, and they were losing people, sort of right and left. So this is going to be conducted by James Gaffigan, and and of note in this program is the return of African-American based Solomon Howard, who had his premiere with us at our annual Martin Luther King concert in January. He's a fantastic artist, and this is a really wonderful way to start the season. And then, of course, we have our traditional Salute to America concerts on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of July, and these are conducted by Loris John Shizzle, whose position in the Marine Corps band I always forget, and was not able to find it for my notes. So he is a person in the active military, and will have feature popular 4th of July fare, including the salute to the forces, of course, and fireworks. So great way to start off the season. Can I get the next slide, please? We present two. Can I get the next slide? Oh, there it is. Oh, no, go back. I'm looking at mine. Of course, mine is not advancing at the same time. So we present two seasons at Blossom. We present a classical season and we present a pop season. And Blossom is often the place where you try out with the Cleveland Orchestra before you get invited to go to Severance. So you'll often see young conductors and young soloists, people you have never heard of, because we, scour the world to find these really great up and comers. And often this is a place as well where people who've had a long experience or long history with us return because they love coming to Blossom. It's just a fantastic place to perform. So we start off the season with on July 15th with an all Rachmaninoff program conducted by Stanislav Kochanivsky and featuring pianist Nikolai Lugansky. Two people completely new to us. It will be Rachmaninoff Symphony No. 1 and the 3rd Piano Concerto. On July 22nd, we have the program is Shostakovich's Cello Concerto No. 1, which he wrote for Mrs. Rostropovich, and who committed it to memory in 4 days, and Debussy's La Mer. So beautiful program conducted by Kachin Wong and Zlodimir Fung, who is playing the cello. Now, Kachin's an interesting fellow. He substituted for us, I think 2 years ago on about 3 days notice at Severance. So he did a fill in, but this is really his real premiere of a program that he programmed for us at Blossom. And then on August 5th, David Robertson returns to us to conduct Sibelius's First Symphony and John Adams' Century Rolls. And David Robertson's the retired music director of the St. Louis Symphony and also the Sydney Symphony. So he's quite seasoned and is someone who's worked with us for 40 years. And the pianist is, you can see right there, is Conrad Tao. Conrad, over the last couple of years, has filled in for canceling pianists several times. Which is just really great, because the challenge with people getting sick and stuff is that you typically have to find someone in less than a week who's going to play the repertoire that you've already programmed, which is just a huge challenge. So Conrad has really saved our bacon on a couple of occasions. And interesting, so this is his first programmed program that he's going to be doing for us. And interestingly, Conrad performs without footwear. So he will come barefoot because that's how he likes to roll. Can I get the next slide, please? So then on August 12th, we continue with Mozart in the Meadows, and this gentleman is Nicholas McKeegan, and he's a world-renowned conductor of classical and Baroque repertoire. It's a classical program that's going to feature Mozart's Clarinet Concerto, and our principal clarinet, Effendi Yusuf, will be the soloist, and the other featured work on this program is Mendelssohn's Symphony No. 4, the Italian. And we have brochures for all of you, which we'll be giving out at the end. August 19th will feature the premiere of Japanese pianist Mao Fujita, who will be playing Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto No. 1, conducted by Ryan Bancroft, and again, another up-and-coming conductor and a premier. And then the last concert of the classical season is on August 26th, featuring Fabian Gabel as the conductor and Simon Lamsa on violin. It's an all-French program of Ravel, Saint-Saëns Violin Concerto No. 3, Defia, the movement from the suite, three-cornered hat suite, and Ravel's suite from Ravel's Daphnis and Chloe ballet. So a very nice and well-rounded season. Can I get my next slide, please? So on to pops. So we started our pop season with She's Got Soul, and that's Carpathia Jenkins is returning. She's fantastic, and she'll be singing hits by Adele, Toni Braxton, the Jackson 5, Earth, Wind and Fire, Chaka Khan, Stevie Wonder. It's going to be a very nice, very nice concert. On the 23rd, we have a really great program called Two Pianos, Who Could Ask for Anything More? And this features two really wonderful pianists, Jean-Yves Thibaudet, who's French, he's from Lyon, quite famous, many, Deutsche Grammophon recording artist, just beautiful classical player. And then Michael Feinstein, who I think is from here. Is he from here? He's from Columbus, close enough, Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. And he is a Broadway star, and he'll be playing and singing. And it's a captivating music of George Gershwin, including Rhapsody in Blue. So it's going to be a beautiful program. And then on the 13th of August, and this is going to be a really popular concert, we have an evening with Broadway star Audra McDonald, and she will be singing from the American Songbook, including Broadway favorites by Rodgers and Hammerstein, Sondheim, and Gershwin. Next slide, please. So that's not all. We also do films. This is a really popular family fair. So we have 3 films this year. Jurassic Park, music by John Williams, and that's on July 7th, 8th, and 9th. We have the second installment of Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and that's on July 28th, 29th, and 30th. And then on September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, we have the premiere of a Disney program, Disney in Concert, The Sound of Magic. And these programs are put together, basically by the people who own the rights to these films. So Disney has put this together, but we are the first orchestra to play this brand new program, which will have, film accompaniment and have all your favorite songs from all your favorite Disney movies. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then finally, and this is not I'm not familiar with this, but gaming obviously is very popular these days, and the music to gaming is also very popular. So there are now shows that you can present that feature the music of video games, and they sell incredibly well. And so this is Distant Worlds, which is music from Final Fantasy, which is a very popular video game. We will be presenting on September the 9th, and instead of the Cleveland Orchestra playing this concert will be played by the Akron Symphony Orchestra. We started a partnership with Akron last year, and so we give them the opportunity. Last year they did a musical. This year they're doing film music. The orchestra the Cleveland Orchestra happens to be on vacation this week, and we had an opportunity to do this. They really were interested in continuing to partner with us. So this is a really nice way for us to pay it forward and also do a really popular program. Next slide, please. So those are the shows that are happening, but I'm also excited about the capital improvements at Blossom, because, you've all been to Blossom, and I would like to say that parking has improved, and it will, but that's not what we worked on this year. So next slide, please. So, as I said, we are in partnership with Live Nation. They do some improvements, and we do some improvements, and we sort of sort that out. So they have put together a House Right VIP deck, which has high back chairs, drinks rails, and full F&B service for Live Nation. shows through our caterer legends. We are going to be using this to service our high-end donors and corporate sponsors. So that's a new change that you'll see at Blossom next year. Can I have the next slide, please? And we have new bars. That's always exciting. When you come into Blossom, will have noticed trailers and tents, which don't look great. And there's no reason why we can't have permanent structures there. So we're having new bars to replace these, and they will be at the top of the lawn area. It'll just be a nicer experience for everyone. Can I get the next slide, please? So the Cleveland Orchestra, we get to do the unsexy things. like the backstage stairs, which you guys don't see, but we're wooden. And this is an area, it goes down to a picnic area for the musicians. It was unusable for a period, I think probably of about 10 years. So it was good to be able to do that. Can I get the next slide? And then we upgraded the pavilion lights. So on your left are the old ones, on the right are the new ones. And we're going to save some money as well, having these lights in, which is really terrific. I didn't include the slide about the upgrades to the bathrooms, but they have been upgraded. So just so you know. Next slide, please. So Blossom facts. Blossom is owned by the Musical Arts Association. The National Park was created after we built Blossom, and we operated in partnership with Live Nation. Annual attendance is 470,000 people a year, which is amazing. Of the 120,000 people for the Cleveland Orchestra, our total attendance in Northeast Ohio is about 250,000 people a year. So most people, almost half, have their first Cleveland Orchestra experience at Blossom. It's really, really important. There was an economic study conducted by Case Western Reserve in 2019 and showed the impact of Blossom Music Center in Summit County, $42 million. Really, really impressive. And we generate 750 seasonal jobs through Blossom every year. So it's a really important part of this community. Our budget for the Cleveland Orchestra next year is we are projecting $9.5 million in revenue, and that's from all sources. So that's tickets, concessions, parking, philanthropic donations, endowment, and then the fee that Live Nation pays us. And our expenses are going to be $12.1 million. So you can see that we generate a deficit. We lose a little on every sale, and we don't make it up in volume. But what we do to cover that, and we do balance our budget every year, is with other philanthropic contributions that are not directed, and also draw from our endowment. Our expenses are things like paying for the orchestra and administration, artistic expenses, so the conductors and the soloists, facilities, production, promotion. We spend over $1 million a year promoting shows to Blossom, and so that's our operating budget for this particular part of our business. I wanted to just, before I go on to the next slide, just talk a little bit about the gift that we recently announced from Milton and Tamar Maltz. Who's heard about the Maltz gift? Right. So $10 million gift to support Blossom, and half of this will go to our annual operating loss. So when you take a look at that $9.5 million in revenue, this is a gift that we will be realizing over a number of years. Part of that money is already in there, and then half of it is going to go to capital improvements. So a rideshare lot, improving lighting from the parking. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get valet parking in there, because it's really, it's, once you get past and we know this, once you get past the gates, everything is fabulous, but getting to the gates, the parking and the you know, the ingress and the egress experience, we know we need to work on that. We are going to replace all of the seats in the pavilion. They're 50 years old. They need to be replaced. Some of them are broken. And then we're also going to be using some of that to do some planning for future improvements. There's, you know, Blossom is a fabulous asset in this community, and we in our board believe that it is underutilized. It could be used all year round, depending on what facilities are there. So we've got a plan for the future, and Mr. and Mrs. Maltz are very, very passionate about it being an even bigger contributor to this local economy. Can I get the next slide, please? And I know you're asking yourself, how can I help you? Right? That's like, I know that's exactly what you're saying. So please attend concerts. You know, ticket revenue is a very, very important part of how we run the organization, but it's also at Blossom. I mean, it's just a fantastic family experience for you and your family's grandchildren. I mean, there's just nothing better than being on the lawn and having, you know, the kids running amok while you're doing whatever, having a glass of wine. It's just terrific. You can sponsor our concerts, our guest artists are all sponsorable and available for those opportunities, which is why I brought my friends Mark and Katie with me today, because that's one of the things that they do. Become a donor, an individual donor. You can donate online, and you can designate your gift to Blossom. I mean, there's, you know, we raise quite a lot of money each year, and people are very generous, and generally they're undesignated. But you can say, when you make your donation, I want this to go to Blossom, and we will absolutely 100% put it against that line item. The Blossom Summer Soiree, which we have some handouts about, that's our annual gala at Blossom. It's brand new. We'll be handing out some flyers about that. And that's on the 23rd of July in conjunction with the Jean-Yves Thibaudet and Michael Feinstein concert. We have a Blossom committee. So that is a committee of about 30 or 40 people. Some are board members and some are members of the community, and they help us plan some of our activities there. We do a lot of donor activities. We have they help with the soiree. And then of course there's the Blossom Friends of the Cleveland Orchestra, which were started in 1968 to help us promote and get the word out about Blossom. They're now transitioning to a service model. They used to do a lot of fundraising for us, but now what they're doing is a lot of volunteering on site to talk to patrons, manning a booth, you know, with information. And it's a really nice way to be involved in your community and get a free ticket to Blossom too, which is also nice. Next slide, please. So the Blossom Summer Soiree is a really wonderful opportunity to come with family and friends and raise some money for the orchestra. Tickets start at $250. We have sponsorship opportunities. We have capacity for up to about 500 people at this event, and we hold it in the Night Grove, which is a series of pods off on house left at the top of the lawn. And let's just take a look at the next slide, please. Again, on the 23rd. With Jean-Yves Thibaudet and also Michael Feinstein, and you see all the repertoire there. It's going to be very beautiful. We have a nice cocktail hour. Our meal is always really, really wonderful, and there are receptions, opportunities to meet the artists afterwards. It's just a really, really special evening. Next slide, please. So that's Blossom in a nutshell for this year, and I'm happy to take any questions, and I thank you so much for your time. Any questions? I covered it all. That's great.
Thank you for coming. What a great introduction to Blossom. If you didn't know about it, and Cleveland Orchestra, it's a big fan. You know, I'm a big fan of the orchestra itself, and I guess my question would be, in terms of your model of fundraising, has that always been part of the orchestra's design, that it would be somewhat self-supporting, but also, lean heavily on philanthropy as well?
Well, I think in over the last 40 years, the balance of ticket sales and philanthropy has shifted a bit. So it used to be 50-50 and now it's 60-40. And the thing that's really that we're really focused on in terms of, and there are two reasons for that. First of all, the type of ticket buyers have changed. So over the last 40 years, particularly for Severance, you couldn't buy a ticket unless you were a subscriber, right? It was sold out on subscription. It was very, very difficult. It was basically the same 4,000 people who were, or 4,000 households that were going. Now, ticket sales are much less subscriber based because people have options and they don't want to be tied down, or they travel, or whatever. So we see a lot more people, a bigger variety of people at Severance, but their ticket buying is a smaller part of our revenue mix. Happily, this is an incredibly generous community. And I was explaining to Jim, when I go out, or when we go out to speak with people who may not be familiar with the Cleveland Orchestra, we don't have to have a preliminary conversation about who we are and what we do and why we're important to the community. People already know. So that's great. But the main aim, raising money year after year after year, I love doing. It's fantastic. It's one of the reasons why I do this job. But we really need to build our endowment. So of our $500 million campaign, we need to, and there's annual fund in there and a bunch of, our core goal for that is incremental $335 million. $200 million of that needs to go to the endowment, because right now the endowment is about $240 million, which I know sounds like a lot of money, and it is, and it throws off $11-12 million a year, but we have a structural deficit of about $8 to $9 million a year. That's why we need to put $200 million more into that, so that we can fund what we're currently doing, close that gap. People will always give to us year after year, and that's repeatable. The thing that we need to deal with, though, is that gap. Because those one-time $1 million gifts, which are here in this community, it's wonderful. You can't get those every single year. So it is our plan. I mean, we are a not-for-profit. And we don't make a profit. There you go. It works very beautifully. Did I answer your question? Okay, great. Thank you.
I want to thank you for coming today too. I mean, we all here believe the Blossom, I think, is probably one of the gifts that is so close, and I'm glad that everybody takes advantage of it. I know we've bought your lawn ticket booklets for probably the last 30 years or so.
Yay.
Or more. So, but I did want to put in a plug for the Blossom Music, the Cleveland Orchestra. My son first got his first debut with the Cleveland Orchestra.
Oh my gosh.
Probably 20 years or so ago. And you say, my gosh, but on the other hand, by the way, it happened to be with the Hudson band. So there was another 320 kids that were with them.
That's okay.
At that time. And by the way, the son that was there playing the tuba has not gone on for professional career by any means, but that one small moment when the Hudson marching band just filled the stage was just awesome. So,
that's fantastic.
and that was, as I say, I don't know, probably 25 years ago, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
whatever it was, but still.
Well,
Thanks.
music education is really foundational, important for kids. And it doesn't, even if your son didn't go on to be a tubist, I guess that's what they call, it probably gave him a foundation of, practice and collaboration and hopefully set him up for future success.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you for coming today.
Oh, my pleasure.
This might be more along the lines of a little comedy relief. I had one of those jobs in college. I was a parker.
Oh, no. Okay.
It's one of the jobs to work my way through school. And the people leaving the Blossom show, the concert, the orchestra shows, you were a lot safer as a parker than when people Jimmy Buffett concerts.
I'm surprised to hear that.
So the behavior was radically different. But, as a lifelong Cleveland sports fans, I had some trouble with my heart after watching the Browns' dismal repeat performances forever. So I actually changed my allegiance to the constant #1 team in Cleveland, Ohio, the Cleveland Orchestra. My heart's much better now.
That's great. Well, thank you. Yeah, I have to say, every time we play, we win. Yes,
I
exactly.
just wanted to mention, while I was growing up, my mom and my stepdad had season tickets to the Cleveland Orchestra. So every year we go to Severance and thoroughly enjoyed it. And I know a couple times we went to the youth orchestra, and I know there was a young lady, I forget her name, but she was in the youth orchestra. Then she ended up being part of the Cleveland Orchestra. So I think it's what a testimony that she was able to make the transition. And every year we go to Blossom, the July 4th, and just wonderful music. People bring their picnic baskets and their wine, things like that, and then stay for the fireworks. So just all in all, wonderful experience. Probably had a little bit of the reason why I ended up studying vocal performance in college. Just love the music.
That's great. That's great to hear. Yeah, thank you. I mean, and you were mentioning the Cleveland Orchestra Youth Orchestra. A very important youth orchestra training program. And I think we have 7 members of the orchestra started in the Cleveland Orchestra Youth Orchestra, including one of our flutists, a violin and violinist, 2 brothers who actually grew up in Warren. So yeah, it's a really, really important program. Sorry, Alicia Nelson, yeah, oh, no kidding. Oh, Alicia. Yeah. And Alicia moved here from was it Nome, Alaska, or somewhere up in Alaska, actually, to be billeted and play in the youth orchestra. Crazy. Yes, sir.
Orchestra is fantastic.
Thank
Before we
you.
moved to Hudson, our neighbors happened to be members of the orchestra.
Oh,
So we
wonderful.
always got previews of the second violin pieces.
I'll bet.
The orchestra, as I understand it, has an outreach program in the public schools, especially in the
Yes.
Cleveland area. Could
Yep.
you talk about that a little bit? Trying to broaden the.
Sure.
audience?
Sure. So we have a really robust education and community engagement program. And we do a number of things in the CMSD, in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. A couple of programs. One is called Crescendo, which is music training for on instruments for younger kids, so brass and violin. And then to the schools who want it and can support it, and that's honestly a real challenge with school districts, is getting kids to school early or having them stay late because of their family circumstances or availability of buses and that sort of thing. And then another really great program we have in the CMSD schools is called Music Mentors. And that's specifically done with the School for the Arts, which is right near Severance. And this is one-on-one coaching for students who are going to be hopefully going on to college. And it's very small. There are probably about 10 kids in the program, but it's highly, highly impactful. And then the other thing, of course, that we're really most known for, if you grew up in the Cleveland area, you probably went to, in fourth grade or 5th grade, you probably went to a concert you're nodding your head at Severance Hall. And we've had over 1 million, at least in the last 40 years, 1 million kids who have gone through that program. And the reason I know that stat is because the woman who ran that program for 40 years retired last week. So they estimated that that Sandy got 1 million kids through that program. And we do that twice a year in the fall and the spring. So kids come for concerts at Severance, and it's a magical experience for them. So that, we are really, really active in the school programs. And in fact, when Adela Prentice Hughes founded the orchestra and then hired the first Sokolovsky, the first conductor, and they were hiring, musicians to play in the orchestra, it was a requirement to teach in the community and be part of the community. You had to commit to that over 100 years ago to be a member of the orchestra, and it's still something that's done today. Yes.
Individual musicians are hustling these days. And I'm not sure if you're aware that recently on May 7th, the principal clarinetist was performing at Music from the Western Reserves locally here. He stepped in at the last minute to essentially fill in for someone who was ill. And
Happens all the
did an
time.
absolutely awesome job. Now, next year as well, Factory Seconds, which is composed
Yep.
of people sitting in the second chair,
Yeah.
is coming for Music of the Western Reserve. I'd like you to talk a little bit more about the collaboration you have with the Akron Symphony and how that started. Thank you.
So it started, so thank you for that. I mean, I think the really great thing, one of the first things that I encountered when I came to the Cleveland Orchestra was a donor event that we did in Rheinberger Chamber Hall, which is our chamber hall at Severance, led by one of our section trumpeters. And he told a really great story about how I think it was just after Memorial Day, about how he had gone to do taps at a military funeral, and what a moving experience it was for him. But he said, the thing that is really important to me and really important about, your philanthropic support is that I am compensated very well. And I've got a great pension. I've got a great health plan, but because I am so financially secure, I can volunteer in the community and do things like go and play taps for this family, or sub in, at the last minute if somebody needs something. So, that's just a real gift to the community. So I thank everyone who supports us in that regard, because it really allows where, people are mandated to do this stuff in the beginning. We don't do that anymore, but people want to give back because they feel so well taken care of. The partnership with the Akron Symphony started last year, or way before that, because we needed to have a conversation earlier. One of the things that, the pandemic, made us and a lot of other organizations realize is that, sometimes you get, into your own head and you're very focused on yourself. Whereas, the pandemic sort of made you think, oh gosh, we have to really actually do a better job in connecting with other people and other communities, and be sort of more welcoming and more accessible. And, that's a real challenge for classical arts. You want to make sure that you've got as many people as possible coming. And so we started talking to the Akron Symphony almost 2 years ago during the pandemic about, like, how are you doing and what can we do to support each other in this community? And it came out of that conversation. I don't have a lot of the details, but I know that the impetus was having those conversations with other organizations. One of the other things that came out of the pandemic as well is making Severance more welcoming. It can be pretty, Blossom is fantastic, come as you are, hang out, let it all hang out. But Severance, it's a pretty imposing edifice and maybe not that welcoming to people. So one of the things that we've been doing through the pandemic is going to community groups, and particularly underrepresented community groups, frankly, community groups of color, to say, you have important meetings that you're holding or your annual event and stuff, please come and use Severance Hall for free. If we won't charge you rent, well, you've got to pay for the AV and all that stuff, but we want you, if you don't want to come to a concert, that's fine, but please use our venue for your important events. We have availability, and we want to be more involved in the community. Is that okay? Great. Any other questions? These are great questions, by the way. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Can I keep you up there
You're
for 1
sure, you
second?
bet,
All right.
you bet.
We have a raffle every week, the Rota Buck raffle. And today's payout is $8 and the jackpot $229. So if you would pull a ticket out for us.
Okay. Well, and
Just pull mine.
Okay, all right, is 923441.
Oh, there we go. All right. Thank you. And then if she selects that black marble, her to pick it, you'll win the whole $229. All right, well, come over here and see, it is in there, yeah?
You're sure?
I'm
You
positive.
didn't take it out.
I might just use my thumb. All right, no, I wouldn't do that to you. Oh, no.
Your story based on.
Oh, so sad. Thank you so much.
you.
Yes. Oh. Well, since we have just a couple minutes, a really quick story made me think about, oh, do we have some handouts here to do? Yes, go ahead. Let's get these things out here. Yeah. While these are coming around, I thought about how important hearing is. You know, if you're a music lover, you know, you need to be able to hear well, and how important that is for us. Is a story about this fellow Patty who lived in Dublin, who was worried about his wife Mary. She seemed to be losing his hearing, he thought, and so he went to the doctor to ask, the doctor, how do I see if she needs a hearing aid? The doctor says, well, here's what you do. Next time you're about 40 feet away from her, ask her a question in a normal speaking voice. And if she doesn't answer, move 10 feet closer, and then 10 feet closer. See how close you have to get before she hears you. And he thought, well, that's a clever idea. So later that night, he gets home from the pub, Patty does, and he goes into the house and he says, looks down the hall, and she's about 40 feet away. And he thought, here it is. So he says, "Hi, Mary love. What are we having for dinner tonight?" She doesn't answer. So he moves 10 feet closer. "Hi, Mary, what's for tea tonight?" No answer. 10 feet closer. 10 feet closer, until he's standing right behind her. And he says, "Mary, so what are we having for dinner tonight?" She said, "Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, Patty, for the 5th time we're having chicken." All right, have a great day. Be great. Make a difference in somebody's life.